salt and pepper and heavy D up in the limousine. And the pictures on my wall. Every Saturday, rap attack, Mr. Magic Molly Mall. I let my tape rock till my tape pop. Smoking weed and bamboo, sipping on.
Yes, it's a fantasy empire.
You still can't get
Chris
that
Vaccaro.
song right.
What?
The song you play it, it stops, you play it.
That's not me. That's the file. So once again, you're insulting the people who are doing work for you.
Nando.
You're trying to make fun of me.
Yeah.
Good job.
How are you, buddy?
Name one of the people who do the stuff for you. And you can't say Tyler.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Tyler, the creator.
Welcome to the show. Chris Vaccaro wrote another rundown that will take us back 4 days and not help you play fantasy football at all, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to talk about hurt quarterbacks. We're gonna...
Nando, you're one of a kind, my friend. You really are.
You are.
Nando shoots down all my rundowns.
I don't.
But yet he doesn't want to contribute. But he doesn't want to contribute to the rundown. He just says, you do the rundown. So I do a rundown, and then he complains or he ignores it. And I say, go ahead. So let's talk about whatever you want to talk about.
I used to do rundowns.
And it was like, so bad.
Red line.
And it was so bad that we had to scrap it. No,
I think you're out of touch. I think you're out of touch with the real fantasy football player. And you only do what Mike Edelman wants you to do.
That's actually fun. At least he didn't call him Mark this week.
Frank Mamela.
There we go. Nando, how was your week 8 in fantasy football?
It was just like forgettable, like not bad, not good. It was just like nothing really happened. You know,
a lot of middling scores, right? A lot of middling scores.
I'm really good at bye weeks, right? Like I'm good at depth. So like this is the part of the season where
I think of good at bye weeks. That's what I think of when I think of you.
I hope you do.
Kills it in the bye weeks when he has no players. Yeah.
When I think of you, I think true friend.
You're sweet.
And out of touch fantasy analyst.
Out of touch. You know it.
All right. You wanted to re-rank the quarterbacks.
No, I didn't want to. I did not want to re-rank quarterbacks.
It actually, what you wrote literally says ranking the week 9 quarterbacks.
No. I think that's the major topic going into week 9 is not the ranking of the quarterbacks. It's pretty much how bad the quarterback position is as we head into week 9.
Little show rundown, QB rankings, week 9. That's what it says.
Nando, people are going to start complaining in the comments that you interrupt way too much and complain about you. There you go. Put it up to the screen. That's
when I'm not here, a lot of people.
Well, because what I'm trying to,
why is the show one long Chris Vaccaro monologue about Kirk Cousins?
You're special.
All right, go ahead. Come on. Finish your thought, sir.
The point is how bad once you get past the big 7 or 8 quarterbacks this week are name wise. The Josh Allens, Pat Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Tua, Lamar, Herbert, and Dak. After that, with 4 teams on bye, quarterbacks 9 through 28 are as bad as I've ever seen it before in a particular week, and that leaves a lot, at least 4 teams in every league this week, either going to the wire or starting a quarterback that they want no part of. And it's real ugly. And that was the part of it. And we lost 2 big guns this past week, maybe 2. I'm thinking Stafford's going to miss this week with a thumb issue. That's possible. Even if he does start, we know he's got a sprained UCL thumb, and he's been struggling to begin with anyway, the last couple of weeks. So, people might have been trying to, avoid him. But we lost Kirk Cousins, a major top 6 fantasy quarterback, this past week. And when you look at the rankings, like I said, it's just ugly. I know I'm scrambling in a couple of leagues. Put on top of that, Trevor Lawrence isn't playing this week. Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, and Brock Purdy. Those are 4 quarterbacks that were top 15 guys that people were using on a weekly basis. So I think that's the story going into this week. The main thing is how hurt people are at the quarterback position, and how are you going to work the waiver wire and which quarterbacks to pick up and plug and play for at least 1 week here.
Let me ask you a question. And I guess
Sure.
this is going to net zero because Kendrick Bourne is gone. And I don't know what the Patriots are, they lost a weapon in an offense that wasn't great to begin with.
Yeah.
But Washington traded away like 2, some would say elite players. Is that a team you could pick on now? I mean, like, it's Mac Jones. It's Mac Jones and the Patriots, though. Like, how are you approaching that?
It's another terrible fantasy offense, right? But we have to look there for some pieces as we go on. And Demario Douglas is going to be the top waiver ad this week if he wasn't already picked up last week, where a lot of savvy fantasy owners were picking him up and seeing what they had in him after week 8. So after week 7, I'm saying. So if he is available in your league, that's the guy that tonight is going to be the most sought after guy, thinking that he could step in now.
He was not last night.
Oh,
he wasn't among the top 10 in CBS leagues last night.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna look
I'm just
at
letting
these
you know.
Yahoo leagues and see, go ahead, then tell me. Yeah, you're good because you're gonna name like 9 guys that have been rostered for 8 weeks already. Now, when you give me your Yahoo rundown, right? Nando,
CBS. It's actually we use CBS because people pay to play on there, so I think they take it a little more seriously.
Listen, the top 2 ads this week at the wide receiver position are going to be Khalil Shakir from Buffalo after his performance last Thursday night, 6 catches for 92 yards and looking like he's going to have a nice role in this offense while Dawson Knox is out and they go to more of a 3-wide, setup in Buffalo. And then, like I said, Demario Douglas, who with the injuries to Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker gets a concussion. He looks like he's going to miss time. Looks like Demario Douglas has a chance here to step right in and probably be the top target in this New England offense that, it's garbage, but you show me any team, someone's got to catch the ball here. So Demario Douglas just might be that guy that gets a cheap 6 to 8 catches every week. I don't know. It might be for 30 yards, but, to get you a nice piece off of the waiver wire that can get 10 to 15 PPR points, this is what we're at. This is where we're at in week 9, Nando.
Follow-up question.
Sure.
Demario Douglas, like top priority rest of season kind of guy, or is this like this week fill-in? I mean, I'm trying to think like I got $100 budget. I got $46 left. Do I go like $30 on Demario Douglas, or I'm like 12 and hope I win him kind of thing,
I think he's a 10 to 15% guy, and it's just based off of where in a week here where the options are limited. Waiver wires in deep leagues are disgusting. Worst I've seen all year long. There's not a running back to be had. The concentration here, if you need help with 4 teams on a bye and a lot of good players on bye weeks right now, not only this week, but next week if you're playing the look-ahead game. He's a piece that you could get off waivers and plug and play as a wide receiver 3, and you hope that he's one of those midseason pickups that every week is a 12 to 15 point PPR guy, Nando. There's not much off the waiver wire at this point of the season. So it's a speculative ad. It's not a slam dunk by any means. We could come out and who knows, maybe Juju Smith-Schuster rises from the ashes and is the lead guy. Maybe, Hunter Henry steps up his game there, or Mike Gesicki, and the tight ends are the main 2 targets in this offense. But it's an offense where they don't have anything. I don't know how else to say it, but the Patriots offense for fantasy is a black hole.
Speaking of the Patriots offense, their former offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, was fired by the Raiders, which I think makes you happy. I'm pretty sure you asked the Raiders to fire him at least 2 columns.
I did in last week's I think 2 weeks in a row in the column. I'm like, what are you waiting for? And then it finally happened. But that was something that could have happened 3 weeks ago, in my opinion, Nando.
I'm intrigued by like guys bringing their guys over. Like Josh McDaniels obviously worked with Jimmy Garoppolo back in the day when he was coaching New England.
Yeah.
Does that mess something up for him? I don't know. Antonio Pierce is like, this is great.
That's
I'm very
crazy,
excited to see Antonio Pierce as a head coach, but like, what's going to happen to Jimmy Garoppolo now? Like, is he going to lose his job? Are they going to be like, all right, dude, we don't like
Jimmy
we're
Garoppolo?
gonna play your back.
Jimmy Garoppolo, way to stay on top of current events. 15 minutes before the show was benched for Aiden O'Connell going forward.
Really?
And
look at that.
you were
I was setting up the StreamYard.
I know. I mean, you were wrapping up a couple bake sale, late
Pie
entries.
sale.
I'm sure. Yeah, pie sale. I'm sure. But
I
the Raiders are gonna go forward here with Aiden O'Connell, and that's the way they should do it. The season's over. They stink.
What about Davante Adams? Are they gonna send him home?
No. What they should have did was, Davante Adams has got to be pissed that he didn't get traded yesterday.
Dude, lives in Las Vegas and makes millions of dollars.
No. I'm not saying he's living a bad life. Trust me. Maybe he didn't even want to go, but on field professionally wise, Davante Adams, I'm sure, wanted to wind up in a better place with a better quarterback. But he's in this situation now. Don't feel bad for him with all his money and life that he's living. Not at all, Nando. I never say that. But his production. I haven't seen an elite fantasy player's season go so 180 ever. I don't think.
Yeah.
If you remember, I sat here 4 weeks ago and said Davante Adams was a slam dunk. He should have been mid-first round pick. He came out on fire, I believe, the first 3 or 4 weeks, just getting crazy targets, crazy catches and yards. And it looked like he was well on his way to a top 2 or 3 overall wide receiver one season. And since then, he's completely bombed, where he's killed his owners for the last month here. So it was a great September. It was a terrible October, and we'll see what November brings now with Aiden O'Connell.
Couldn't there, Antonio Pierce comes in, and Antonio Pierce, played I remember him playing for the Giants,
Yeah.
80s, 90s, right? Maybe 90s, probably more 90s.
Did you really just say the 80s? How old do you think?
I don't know.
Antonio Pierce? Nando, Antonio Pierce was on the Super Bowl team for the Giants that beat the Patriots.
90s. My bad.
And you just put him in the 80s?
I don't know how old I am or what year it is anymore. If someone's like, "Hey, remember 2006?"
I mean, the 90s was the 90s would have been a bad guess, and you just put him in 1980s like he's Carl Banks or something like that.
He reminds me of Carl Banks. Anyway, the point is, seems like the kind of guy who would come in and be like, "Why aren't we throwing it more to Davante Adams? Like, let's go, Aiden. Throw to this guy 17 times a game, or you're gone." Right? Wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
Antonio Pierce's interim title, even though you look back at Rich Bisaccia, who probably deserved to be the head coach, and obviously McDaniels came in, and maybe even Steve Wilkes, what he did with Carolina, won 6 games with a terrible team. I mean, I don't know if Antonio Pierce has got to look at this and be like, I got to win. I'm going to win by throwing the ball to Davante Adams.
Yeah, you get those coaches that have been in the game, but I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure that the last couple of weeks, the game plan wasn't to go away from Davante Adams and not pepper him with targets. I mean, it's never the plan to avoid your best player.
It might be. McDaniels seems like one of those guys who's like, I got to be the smartest guy in the room, so let's do something weird.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
All right, well.
All right. Anyway, can we get back to ranking your week 9 quarterbacks?
We'll see what happens with the Raiders. We never know what happens. But Aiden O'Connell's a gunslinger, and he's going to come in. And, what happens when a young gunslinger, he comes in and he's going to look for his top target. So I expect Davante Adams to go back to, producing as we move forward here. So, but anyway, go ahead, Nando. What back to our original topic of quarterback play. You could wipe Jimmy Garoppolo off of that list of possible quarterbacks to pick up and plug and play this week. But it's just ugly. I can't do it, even though it's versus the Giants here. I just can't do it.
Giants defense has been okay lately.
Listen, I mean, it's weird when you look at the rankings of anybody this week and you see the 9th through 12th, QB1, and you're looking at guys like Derek Carr, CJ Stroud, even Gardner Minshew for some people are sliding into the top 12. It's just really desperate. It's desperate times here. And out of all these guys that are available on waivers, Nando, these QB2s, basically, QBs that on a normal week would be ranked from 22 to 32. Is there anybody that you're looking at this week that you would pick up? Who would you prioritize off the waiver wire for a plug and play start? Because none of these matchups are even good. in my opinion. That's the way I see it this week.
I guess. I mean, like my instinct was to go to like who's playing Washington. That was my first thing. After the trade deadline, that's a demoralized team now that traded 2 of their best defensive players away. And it's, of course, it's
so
Mac
you're
Jones.
Recommending Mac Jones.
No, but I don't know if I can because he also lost Kendrick Bourne. But you never know, man. Weird stuff happens.
Well, I would look at it like this for Mac Jones. If you're looking at
Zach Wilson, PJ Walker.
If you're looking at it for Mac Jones, like they just traded away 2 guys off of the Washington defensive line, 2 big guns, Montez Sweat, Chase Young. Maybe New England comes into this game and they're like, hey, this is a game that we can really pound Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke Elliott, and attack this Washington defensive line here while they figure out what's going on in the pass game. So this might be a Mac Jones, 150 to 175 passing and a touchdown, while the running backs get, 35 combined carries in this type of game. So for me, I wouldn't, I hear what you're saying. I like to attack that Washington defense as well, but I think I have some better options, than Mac Jones. My guy personally, and I'm waiting for the news today to break because Arthur Smith said he would let everybody know who was going to be the starter, but I'm hoping that he makes the switch to Tyler Henicke. And I would go and pick up Henicke tonight, start him versus Minnesota at home in that game. That would be my, top priority ad for quarterback for a plug and play start this week. I know most people are obsessed with Will Levis, but the Will Levis thing to me, I'm not going to be bidding that much on Will Levis, even though he's the hot waiver wire quarterback ad. If you need a 1-week starter this week, maybe, if you're in quarterback help, but if you're the Kirk Cousins owner, Levis will be the guy that you try and go after and hope that he continues this throughout the rest of the season. But we don't even know if, Tannehill's going to come back healthy in a week and they're going to say, no, this is still Tannehill's team and turn it back over. So that might be blown money if you pick up Will Levis. But for me,
guess what?
A young quarterback on a short week going on the road into Pittsburgh is not the ideal plug and play start for me. So all these people that are going after Will Levis hard tonight, I'm not seeing it, to be honest with you.
So Tyler, our producer, just let us know that Taylor Henicke has been named the starter about 5 minutes ago.
Taylor.
So
what did I say?
Now who's not paying attention? You called.
But wait, what did I say?
You call everybody Tyler.
I'm sorry. I'm actually doing the show. The news with the Aiden O'Connell broke. Okay,
you know what? If you'd like, why don't you set up? You set up the. You know what? I'm gonna give you permission right now. You go ahead and
you're right.
Play us into commercial.
Stop it.
No, go ahead. I'd like to see you do that.
Buddy.
Set up the StreamYard. Write the description. Set it up to go to all the streaming places.
Your feelings are hurt.
After the show, I'd like you to load it up into the podcast back end.
Your feelings are hurt.
And then let me know if I miss one bit of news that happened at 11.
Tyler? At 11, did I say Taylor Henicke or Tyler?
No, you said Taylor. You keep calling him.
Did I?
You're really messing this up. Yeah. You're not handing a column in tonight, right? That was the plan. You're taking this week off?
Bye week.
Recharge
the batteries. So for anybody that's watching the show right now that is also a reader of mine, there will be no article this week. It's a bye week.
Okay, so be quiet so I can do this correctly this week. You ready? Hold on. I'm going to put you in the back end so you can't say anything.
It has been 2 years since Josh Larkey paved the way for fantasy gamers to start expecting positive returns from pick'em games, specifically underdog pick'ems. And how do you do it? Well, you look at a slate and you find a great shootout or a sneaky shootout. You also look for a shit show game. 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in one game. That's right. You can do it. You can do it. And you can 100x your payout on Underdog. Think about week 1. Jets-Bills was a shit show. Did we see the Aaron Rodgers injury coming? No, but we knew the Jets have a good defense. We knew the Bills have a good defense. Why not expect the worst? And the worst is what we got. So if you had gone Dalvin Cook less than, Garrett Wilson less than, Aaron Rodgers less than, Josh Allen less than, Gabriel Davis less than, boom, 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 you can go 6 for 6. Same thing in week 2. Week 2. Sneaky shootout there in Philadelphia. Minnesota's going to be in comeback mode, so we'll go Cousins, Jefferson, Hawkinson, more than. Madison, less than. But also, Swift, more than. Boom, 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 boom. That's how you do it with the Underdog Pick'ems, and you use promo code Underworld to get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. You put in $100, Underdog matches that deposit up to $100 with promo code Underworld. Go start picking.
That's called professional.
Yeah, you nailed it, buddy. You nailed it.
I did. I think that's exactly what the instructions said. So,
real quick, Nando, just to answer some of our listeners' questions here. Jesse, yes, no, I'm keeping DeAndre Swift. I think he's a top 6 fantasy running back. I wouldn't make that move for Walker. And yes,
this is a podcast, man. People can't read this stuff on the podcast.
Well, we're live on YouTube, Nando. Please. So
Jesse wants to know if you trade Walker for Swift.
I just did that. And Gus Edwards, top 24 running back. Don't buy into what we just saw this past week. He's not going to run, he's not going to give you 30 fantasy points like he did this past week. But yeah, he's a solid back end RB2 rest of the way now that the Ravens didn't trade for a running back. And Terrell, we just talked about Demario Douglas at top of the show. So all good. But yeah, so now that Taylor Henicke is starting, I would want him the most, Nando.
I would so great. Yeah. I think. Don't you feel like the universe is speaking to you? That
yes. Yeah. That one backfired. That one backfired in my face a little bit, but to my credit, that just broke, and we're live on the show. So I didn't look down at my phone. I'm not Adam Schefter here. So. You know who else, Nando? This is going to be crazy. I wanted to bring this topic up because I have one other quarterback that I would stream for 1 week, and I know he's near and dear to your heart, and people might say I'm absolutely crazy.
Zachary Wilson.
Absolutely not.
All right.
PJ Walker.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
PJ Walker. If you're desperate and listen, I don't want to go pick up Bryce Young this week. I'm still not impressed with him. He's not giving the numbers. But in certain situations, PJ Walker at home versus this Arizona defense that is, crap. Maybe gives you 202 touchdowns and runs for, 20 to 40 yards in the matchup. I'm just saying for 1 week, just because of how bad this particular week is for quarterback help. I think he's a sneaky spot start.
It was kind of swept under the rug. Deshaun Watson last week was just like, hey, I don't know when I'm going to play next. And it made it kind of sound like he's ready to, you know what I mean? Like it was just, it was a quote that I thought was pretty awesome. And no one was really talking about. Like Deshaun Watson's getting like the Houston accusations flying treatment right now. Like he's active, but he's not, you know what I mean? Remember that? Remember that season when he was just kind of like the third guy?
Yeah, Nando, I do. But no, this is all shoulder related. He can't force the ball down the field. So, his shoulder's just not letting him do it. So you can't put your franchise quarterback out there when he's not 100%. It's tough. I don't know. Maybe he needs a surgery to get that right or something, and maybe he just won't be right the rest of the season. But I think what they're doing is, and why you see so many week to week, they're just waiting for him to come in one day and be like, yeah, I feel great now. It's gone, like a sprained shoulder. You're just waiting for it to get out. And that's why they're not like throwing in the towel on him. And he's just every week, it's like a little bit of hope will leave the door open. And he came back a couple weeks ago and he still wasn't right. And he's back to the bench. And I don't think we see him for a while now. So it's crazy.
They must love PJ Walker in Cleveland, right? Like to not make a trade and have like that, elite of a defense. You know what I mean? Like, well, I mean, I'm just saying,
it's a tough situation. I think that's a tough situation in Cleveland to make a trade. What are you going to do? You're going to trade for a veteran quarterback, bring a veteran quarterback in, and then Watson in a week or two is going to be like, hey, I feel good now. What was the point of making the trade, giving up a draft pick?
Oh, yeah, those 2 games, those 3 games are huge.
Yeah, I hear you, but
This
it
is a
wasn't
game of
like
inches.
sure. All right, Pacino.
Oh man, those pictures you posted of you as Al Pacino for Halloween last night were pretty great.
Sure, sounds good, Nando.
I'm gonna put Chris didn't know about Tyler Henicke as part of the rundown that I have to put in that I have to upload to the podcast.
You want to? We had just finished talking about Tyler, our producer. So I said Tyler Henicke instead of Taylor.
We actually did not. I mean, we mentioned him 1 minute into the show.
We did. That's exactly why.
And that was 14 minutes when you said, I got a timestamp.
All right, come on, Nando. We're talking fantasy football here. Stay focused or no?
No. Where are you on Leonard Fournette?
Leonard Fournette. Oof, I think people are going overboard, Nando, honestly, with this Fournette signing in Buffalo. I think everybody just thinks of Leonard Fournette. They hear his name and they say, okay, I'm getting the Leonard Fournette from 3 years ago. And I just look at it as a situation where maybe they're not happy with what they're getting out of Latavius Murray as a short yardage back, an early down, like a 3rd and 1 type running back. Maybe they're not happy with what they're getting from him, but most likely they're just trying to replace Damian Harris, their third back, similar type back where, Damian Harris suffered a really bad injury getting, carted off a couple weeks back. Maybe they're about to put him on season-ending IR. They needed a third back. James Cook has done nothing in my eyes to have a running back come in and threaten his job. He had 17 carries this past week. They need to get him the ball more in space. He should be one of these running backs that catches 4 or 5 balls every week out of the backfield. But the game script last Thursday night didn't need that. Buffalo got up. I look for this particular game upcoming and their schedule going forward. They have a lot of nice games where James Cook, I think, could really shine here. I think once you get into these games where they're maybe trailing, they're in high scoring games versus the Cincinnati this upcoming week. I think that's when you're going to see James Cook play 70% of the snaps and catch 3 to 5 balls every week and still be a legitimate RB2.
Jake Seeley has an interesting ranking of tight ends. I know you love talking about tight ends. Mm-hmm. He's got Taysom Hill at 7, Kyle Pitts at 8.
Yeah, so that's
Logan
a touchy
Thomas
subject.
at 10. Logan Thomas at 10.
Listen, Nando, the Taysom Hill thing is a touchy subject because if you're in certain types of platforms and certain home leagues, yeah, he's classified as a tight end.
Yeah,
but most leagues you can't use him as a tight end, and if you could, he'd probably be top 6, top 7 tight end every single week just because of what he's doing and the fact that sometimes he could throw the ball. So I won't touch on Taysom Hill, Nando. Because,
my bad.
I'm just saying I don't play in any leagues where Taysom Hill can be played as a tight end. So, and I think it's unfair, honestly, to play him. Okay, but I don't think it's fair to play Taysom Hill as a tight end. I think it's a little ridiculous. But
how are you on board game night? For real, I know we brought up Monopoly before, but
we're not touching on your board game question from
when people bring the board game out. You're like, hold on, I got to read the instructions very closely for the next 20 minutes before we can start this game of Candyland.
I'll get you
children.
I'm sorry, Nando. I don't have children, and I haven't played a board game in 25 years. So sorry.
Nieces. I see you just gregariously volunteering.
I played Sorry with my niece years ago, but that was a fun game. Anyway.
All right. Jake also has Alvin Kamara as his number 1 running back this week.
Yeah, no problem there. Listen, we're in a week where CMC and Travis Etienne, the top 2 fantasy running backs this year and probably the rest of the year going forward, are off the board. Never mind Jahmyr Gibbs, who, if he was healthy, David Montgomery, they're on a bye, and Javonte Williams, who just got 27 carries. So 4 really good starting running backs on their bye this week. And Alvin Kamara just keeps getting it done in the air and on the ground every week. He's a PPR machine, and I don't know who I would have ranked ahead of him either as an RB1 this upcoming
Bijan Robinson,
week.
probably.
You know what? I have I'm not throwing in the towel. I still believe in Bijan Robinson, but it's getting to the point where it's a little frustrating, Nando, because every week you think, all right, this is going to be the week where he goes for 25 fantasy points and everything, but he's just not getting it done. He's 12 points, 14 points. So it's been a rough little stretch here for Bijan Robinson, and hopefully his season picks up and he starts getting higher snap percentage and everything. The snaps aren't there. I believe he played 70% of the snaps this past week. He just needs to touch the ball way more than he does. So, but Alvin Kamara, yeah, I got no problem with that. I'd have Kamara. I still think Saquon Barkley should be a top 3 ranked running back after what we just saw him getting 36 carries this past week. Now he goes to Vegas in a game where if he starts contributing in the passing game, he should be a nice 20-point a week floor for Saquon going forward.
You wanted to talk about Tony Pollard. Well, you demanded we talk about Tony Pollard.
Demanded.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Casey Joyner wrote a really good article about, what to do with Tony Pollard the rest of the way and, how these carries. But Michael Gelkin of Dallas Morning News, I was listening to him Sunday morning when I was driving around on Jeff Mann's show. And he said he ran these numbers a few weeks ago. And it was like Tony Pollard's highest speed this season. And every other season, his highest speed was above like 19.7, like double the amount of times it's been this season. And like, there's just evidence and more evidence just piling up that like maybe Tony Pollard, I think his old running backs coach, who's the coach with the Bucks now, said something like, this guy, he's like a sports car. You know what I mean? Like he's good in like short bursts, but he's not like a reliable truck where, like he referenced like getting gassed after like the 63-yard run, taking himself out of the game and, not getting any more touches the rest of the game. So I assume that you're coming in this direction. Like Tony Pollard can't handle this workman's.
No, I'm actually not, Nando. The whole fantasy world is running from Tony Pollard, and I get it. I understand. I still think that a lot of it, he gets game scripted out of these games. Does he pass the eye test so far? No, not really. He had a nice stretch of games where it's 16 points, 18 points. He could catch the ball out of the backfield. He just runs into these situations every week where it's either a blowout one way or the other. He got 16 carries, I believe, this past week. 12 carries for 53 yards. Not great, not terrible. He's just not, he's not producing how we drafted him on the board. He was a mid-second round draft pick, and people are going crazy for him because they expected, 20 carries for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns with 5 catches. And that just hasn't happened. And maybe that offseason, maybe the surgery, the tightrope surgery has affected him. Maybe he's not back to the running back that we saw last year. Maybe he's not equipped to be, that lead back where he's getting the 20 carries a game. Maybe, he just shines because he was coming in for Zeke Elliott these last couple of years. And we would see when he would come in for a couple, a series, and he would have that crazy burst, we'd be like, oh my God, we want to see more of it. Give him a full workload. And some of these backs just aren't built to be the workhorse, bell cow lead back like that. So maybe he's not that, but we've seen enough of Tony Pollard that he's talented enough that he could still be, a high-end RB2, low-end RB1 the rest of the season. My point is this with Tony Pollard. His schedule's been a little weird so far. And then, you look up and he's got Philadelphia this upcoming week. And maybe this isn't like the game to like put your chips all in on him, right? But after that, the schedule really opens up for Dallas. They get the Giants, the Panthers, Washington, who we just said, just gave away their defensive line, and Seattle. So that's the next 4 weeks. Okay. So November looks promising to me for Tony Pollard. I think he's just going to be a second half of the season type running back. And for all these people that are trading away Tony Pollard on the low right now, I think they're really going to regret it. And when you look up for the playoff weeks that he has, his playoff schedule plays the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins, and the Detroit Lions. 3 games right there that you want the starting running back of the Dallas Cowboys. That's 3 games where the totals are going to be over 52 in Vegas, maybe even 55, okay? 3 games that could be complete shootouts, and he doesn't need to run for 120 yards every game and get 20 carries on the ground. These are types of games in his schedule for the second half. He could catch the 4 or 5 balls every week and get it done through the air. We just saw the offense, what they did this past week versus the Rams. Dallas's offense is a top 10 offense, and I'm not throwing in the towel yet on Tony Pollard. I still think that on the cheap, he's a guy that you should be trying to trade for instead of trying to trade off.
Would you trade away Puka Nacua for him? Say you had a need, you were going running back shopping. Is that like?
I would never trade a running back like a Tony Pollard for a receiver in this year's fantasy landscape. Absolutely not.
But what if you were on the other side of that? I'm saying you have Puka.
Give me Tony Pollard. Yeah, I would trade you my Puka Nacua for Tony Pollard. Yeah.
Let me tell you, Tony Pollard's going for this is just the Yahoo trade market, but it's really the only place that tells you what's happening. There's Mike Evans. Pollard's been traded for Evans in the last day. He's been traded for Pittman Jr. and Rachaad White. He's been traded for DeAndre Hopkins and Aaron Jones. Let's stop there. That's an interesting one. Is DeAndre Hopkins resurgent now that Will Levis is the quarterback? And B, let's talk about Aaron Jones after that, because I want to talk about the Packers and what a mess they are.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, Nando. If I told you I had DeAndre Hopkins, I own 1 share of DeAndre Hopkins in a big league, and I've rolled with him for 7 weeks straight and have gotten pretty much not much disappointed week after week. So
that's
what
only
happened?
You thought you were
week,
drafting DeAndre Swift, right?
Yes, and I benched him this past week and got 34 points dropped on me. So that's just my personal little horror story from week 8. But DeAndre Hopkins, yeah, listen, Levis has got a big arm. Still, again, we don't know what's going to happen with the quarterback situation. If Tennessee is smart, they'll stick with the kid. They'll stick with Levis going forward here. And, again, a young quarterback's going to lock in on his top target. And DeAndre Hopkins, I'd have higher hopes for. I'd probably look at DeAndre Hopkins as a low-end wide receiver too, if Levis had the starting job week in and week out going forward. So I have higher hopes for DeAndre Hopkins now that I did with Tannehill behind center. Aaron Jones and this Packer offense, Nando, it's a complete train wreck. It's one of these offenses where on paper you look and you're like, oh, this team's got Christian Watson. They got Aaron Jones. They got a couple other good pieces and Dobbs and Jaden Reed and a nice young rookie tight end. They all cancel each other out. And every week the box score is just like 3 catches for each of them. Aaron Jones is a shell of himself. I don't know if it's because of the hamstring injury that he's not over, but he's killing fantasy owners.
Dylan wasn't great when Jones was out. Dylan was a bust.
Well, Dylan hasn't been good. Dylan hasn't been good in 2 years, but and Dylan didn't look good again, for the month of September. So people were dropping AJ Dillon. AJ Dillon was a drop, and then all of a sudden, these last 2 or 3 weeks, while Aaron Jones was banged up, Dylan didn't look great, but he looked a lot better than he has any time in the last year and a half. And he's given 10 to 15 fantasy points. He's catching the ball out of the backfield now. He's outproducing Aaron Jones. And it's looking like it's more of a 50-50 timeshare between Jones and Dillon, which is what drafters signed up for going into last year on draft boards, thinking that it'd be a 50-50 split with both of them being able to produce. And now it's like, they're both low-end RB2s, if that. So this Packer offense is one to avoid. Jordan Love is sinking it on a weekly basis. It's just another offense that you just hope that you don't have shares of and you hope to avoid. And if you get any trade offers for any Packers, hit delete, because this team and offense is going nowhere. And just another one of these bottom 6 fantasy offenses that you want no part of.
I don't think delete is an option. You reject.
Reject.
You could counter.
Reject. Yes, nice.
We reached the end of the Chris
Nice,
Vaccaro
Nando.
list of demands. Yeah, we're at week 9 game preview. I think we hit some good ones
Oh, very nice.
already, right?
Why isn't the time up on the show? I don't see it.
It's been 39 minutes and 51 interminable seconds.
Yeah, but usually I know where we stand, and you don't have the timer usually, which is weird.
I don't know. I'm going to assume it's something on your end.
All right. Hey,
I see it just fine.
maybe
your
it
view's
is.
messed up. Yeah, did you mess up your
Maybe
view
it is.
here?
Nando, speaking
What do you think about
speaking
this?
of,
Oh, yeah.
no, wow, go back. Yeah, that was stop playing with the thing. So anyway, Nando, another backfield that I tried to make a sneaky little add on last week going into week 8 was that Tampa Bay backfield.
Yeah.
And, Rachaad White was a running back I was fading all draft season. And I haven't been impressed with what I've seen for the first 7 weeks. And then last Thursday night happened, and I'm like, all right, he actually looked pretty good. But my sneaky little ad last week was Chase Edmonds coming off of the waiver wire.
I like that call a lot.
Yeah, I mean, listen, here's the thing. My thinking with this was, and he was only a couple bucks. And again, in this year's running back landscape, you're either going to have to wait for somebody to pop out of nowhere and then drop crazy amount of fantasy bucks, or you're going to have to keep sprinkling a couple bucks on the second and third string running backs, and maybe an injury happens or unproductive play happens and these guys get elevated. Another guy this week like that is Michael Carter for the Jets. These are guys that they're not going to go for big money at all, but you kind of have to read the tea leaves a little bit. Breece Hall going forward is a top 6 RB1 in my opinion. So it's not as if I'm saying, oh, Michael Carter's going to come in and take the job over. But I'm saying, Dalvin Cook is dust. His snap percentage went, I believe he got 8 snaps last week. And he looked like Michael Carter has now elevated past Dalvin Cook to be the RB2. And if he plays that role and Dalvin Cook is just, relegated to third string, Michael Carter could be a useful piece for you. And he's only one hit away from being the starter. And we've seen what Michael Carter has done in the past couple of years. We know he's talented enough where he could come in and be a nice PPR back and get you 15 fantasy points a week if Breece Hall had to miss some time with a hamstring or anything like that. So he'd be this week's little speculative ad that you drop a couple bucks on and stash on your bench and let the season keep playing out. But last week, like I said, I thought Rachaad White was a running back just holding on for dear life to his job. I didn't think Keyshawn Vaughn showed me anything that would prevent a guy like Chase Edmonds coming back and maybe taking over his role. And what happened? The game starts. Rachaad White gets the first 2 series. Keyshawn Vaughn came in and played 1 third down snap. And then Chase Edmonds got the third drive all to himself. And he did it again in the second half. So I think Chase Edmonds, who people most likely forgot because he got hurt in the first quarter of the first game, but Tampa Bay went out and went after him. And in that first game, they gave him snaps right away in that first quarter. So I was trying to think ahead. I'm not dropping Chase Edmonds. He came in, he caught 2 balls for 16 yards. He got 3 carries in that game versus Buffalo. But I think maybe going forward, we could see Chase Edmonds cut into Rachaad White's production here. Rachaad White still isn't getting it done on the ground. He caught 7 balls for 70 yards, and he had his best game of the season pretty much. But who knows? Chase Edmonds, put him on your bench. And if Rachaad White struggles for another week or 2, maybe they start saying, hey, listen, maybe they go to a 50-50 time split. And Chase Edmonds becomes one of these type of running backs that you can maybe flex in a particular week or stick in an RB2 on certain weeks. Because, listen, the RB landscape, like I said, it's dying out. And when you look at your RB2s on some of these teams, you're in dire straits already.
If I would have brought up Chase Edmonds, you would have made such a thing out of it that I would have had to make you another coffee mug for Christmas. But now you're sitting here talking about Chase Edmonds. It's amazing.
Yeah, you got to. Well, because
it's amazing how much you've matured.
Thank you, Nando. Yeah, and I knew you would appreciate that one.
What about Sean Tucker?
Listen, Sean Tucker, I think I had all the Sean Tucker shares coming into
Everybody loves Sean. I had a Sean Tucker head by the time draft day.
Well, you're a Syracuse guy, Nando, so you know about Sean Tucker. Listen, he's done. What can I say? He's been inactive for a while now. I don't know what the case was, but he was one of those guys that I love putting on my team in the last 18th to 20th rounds of my drafts this summer, and again hoping that it was a fade of Rachaad White more than anything, because I was fading Rachaad White. So he's become now inactive, like I said, and Chase Edmonds is healthy and back, and Keyshawn Vaughn keeps getting a couple snaps here and there. So he's fourth string. We'll see if there's an injury that occurs that maybe makes him active, but I can't recommend putting Sean Tucker on your roster right now. I dropped all my shares of him as well.
Are you concerned at all that this early morning Sunday game is going to screw the offenses a little bit?
Okay,
two of the best offenses in the game. Well, I mean, the best offense in the game in Kansas City.
Yeah, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when I realized that this particular game was going to be in Germany, and which sucks because I'd rather this game not get screwed with in any way, any way or form. Yeah. But here it is, and you never know what's going to happen. But what I did like 51. To hear is
the line still over under still 51 at least.
Yeah, I'd bet the under just based on these games that go overseas is just never plays out right. They're always slow starts. But what I did like to hear was that McDaniel was taking the Dolphins out early in the week. I believe yesterday they left and got there. He wanted to get there early on Tuesday. I like when these teams get there on Monday or Tuesday and they get acclimated. I don't know what Kansas City's plan was. I didn't hear anything. I have to look into that. If Kansas City was leaving later on, I'll be betting Miami in this game as a 2.5 point underdog. I'll be money lining them. Didn't like what I saw out of Kansas City at all this past week.
You made it sound like you're snorting them.
Oh, yeah?
Never mind. Just the way you said you're money lining them. I don't think it's a verb like that. Yeah. All right, go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what you're saying. But anyway, I'll be money lining Miami. I don't know how that doesn't make sense to you, but
it makes sense to me just the way you said it.
Both teams are going on, but I could see Kansas City laying an egg here. I still don't like this Kansas City offense. It finally came to a head this past week. If you remember 2 weeks ago on a Thursday nighter, they laid an egg versus Denver, even though they won. Their offense looked like crap. Okay, and then this past week, they go to Denver, and the offense just completely tanks and looks terrible. So we'll see what happens here in Germany, but I still think Kansas City is overrated. I still don't think they're the team that everybody thinks they are. You could throw in the Mahomes had the flu excuse and everything, but somebody needs to step up offensively on this team besides Kelsey. It's still not happening. And I could see Miami just blowing them off the field if Kansas City's sleepwalking early Sunday morning.
I was looking at the Titans-Steelers game, and I'm like, but it's just like if Will Levis can have like another game, he's exciting. They take shots.
Yeah. I
mean, it's plus 2.5. I tease it all the way up to minus 9.5 for the Titans. Because the Steelers, if Kenny Pickett's going to play, that never works out.
That would be plus 9.5, just so you know.
No, I'm going Titans minus 9.5, I'm saying. Right now, it's plus 2.5 Titans. I think the Titans can win by 10. It's still only...
Oh, you're taking like an alternate line, you're saying?
Yeah, an alternate line. I love these alternate lines, but it's still only plus 371, which I don't...
Why is that teasing? Why are you calling it a tease then?
I'm using the wrong word. I'm sorry.
God almighty.
I'm alternate lining, man.
I hate when fantasy analysts pretend like they're gamblers.
9.5.
There's nothing that bothers me more in this industry than that. So don't become that, Nando.
Like you?
Yeah. Anyway, that game is going to be ugly, and we're in store for some ugly Thursday night games, I believe. And next week, by the way, the Bears are on Thursday Night Football again. They just played on Thursday night.
It's the most exciting quarterback in the game.
Night. Why is Thursday night? Why are these teams playing multiple Thursday night games? Since when? I thought every team had to play one Thursday night game, but the Bears, who just played Washington a couple weeks back on a Thursday night, they play Carolina next Thursday. So I don't get the scheduling. I saw another team that already played a Thursday night game a couple weeks ago is on tap for a late November Thursday night game as well. So I don't get what the deal is all of a sudden here. But this game's going to be pretty ugly. It seems as if on the Pittsburgh side, Kenny Pickett is going to gut it out. Nando, I got this situation.
Let's get an under over of 38.5.
Yeah, under. I'll take the under. But I have a situation. I'll throw you, Nando. I have two big leagues that, I have Trevor Lawrence in, and he's on his bye week. And Kenny Pickett's been my backup. And I lined it up where Kenny Pickett would be ready to go for this bye week replacement because he's facing the Titans. And I want that matchup, Pickett at home versus that Titans secondary. I figure, all right, it'd be a good bye week replacement. But now he's hurt and he goes into this game we'll find out more by the time the game starts, but we're a day away and he's got this rib injury that he got. Would you drop him to the wire for any of the quarterbacks that we talked about? A Taylor Henicke, a PJ Walker?
Yeah, maybe.
Would you?
Yeah, maybe.
Would you?
I wouldn't mess with Pickett this week. You don't care. You don't care about my answer. I think you want to ask me so then you can follow up instead of just asking yourself.
No, I'm asking you. What would you do? If you
don't care.
If your answer is yeah, maybe, then I won't ask you questions. If you gave a thoughtful answer, then I would.
Here's my thoughtful answer: is that it's a short week. Kenny Pickett's not in the best of shape. There's a lot of maybes floating around, and I don't think it's that big of a difference between him and a Henicke. And I think even a Zach Wilson, who the Jets are letting him air it out a little more. He still always has Garrett Wilson. You know what I mean? So that's Kenny Pickett-esque. Although Zach Wilson, I feel like is
you might be the only one in the industry that's going to recommend Zach Wilson, although he does get the.
If you put him up against Kenny Pickett, an injured Kenny Pickett on a Thursday night.
Yeah, listen, Thursday nights I always like to avoid. It's more so the injury than anything. But this is what fantasy managers are looking at this week, Nando. It's straight down the board. If you're not lucky enough to have one of these top 8 quarterbacks, or even maybe the gift that is Sam Howell, who I absolutely love this man, dropping 42 fantasy points this past week versus the Eagles. Have him on a couple of big teams where I waited on quarterback and Deshaun Watson and Daniel Jones were my starters. Well, they were. And I replaced them with Sam Howell. These guys, a guy like Sam Howell is a top 10 fantasy quarterback. I don't love the matchup versus New England on the road, but Sam Howell is a top 10 fantasy quarterback. It's just all these guys after him is what are you going to do? Do you trust your boy Geno Smith on the road in Baltimore?
Doesn't matter. They got Leonard Williams. Doesn't matter. Geno Smith could, throw for 100 yards a game now, man. That's one touchdown. And they're going to win 7-0 every week.
You're saying that Seattle's now a great defensive team. Is that what you're
amazing? Yeah, with that glue in the middle, with big Leonard Williams in the middle.
Do you trust Daniel Jones coming back off the neck injury and playing in Vegas?
I don't think so.
Can't do that. That was amazing, by the way. The Giants' offense with not one of their receivers registering a yard. Slayton caught 1 ball for 0 yards. Other than that, Wan'Dale Robinson, Isaiah Hodgins, Jalen Hyatt, not one catch. Imagine going through an NFL game and all of your wide receivers do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Darren Waller caught 1 ball for 4 yards in the first quarter, got hurt, and was the leading receiver.
It's crazy.
It's one of the most unbelievable stats that I think I've ever witnessed. But that game was so bad, Nando, that it actually had the bar this past Sunday, actually into it and really exciting and making a lot of noise. You ever just be in a bar watching a game and the game's so bad that it becomes exciting?
No, I don't even understand. It sounds like just a bunch of losers in a bar pretending, cosplaying excitement.
Well, that's what happened. Graham Gano misses the field goal, and everybody's just going crazy. And Zach Wilson completes 2 balls down the field, and everybody was going crazy. And it was one of the worst games ever. Yeah, it was an exciting finish, but people were going crazy in the fourth quarter just with how bad the game was. But
oh man, imagine a bar in New York where New York fans at an exciting finish are excited. Imagine
Well,
that.
they had to suffer through a terrible game, Nando.
They were
And
drinking.
I have high hopes for Garrett Wilson still. This is one of those, this Jets offense is just one of those offenses where it's just Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. You could forget about owning anybody else in this offense, but you can expect these two main guys to be a wide receiver 1 most weeks and an RB1 most weeks. So it's one of those offenses that suck, but they're giving you 2 major pieces out of it. And maybe the Vegas Raiders become that with like a Josh Jacobs and a Davante Adams. Maybe the team sucks so bad, but yet the offense is just 85% these 2 guys going forward that they're both a wide receiver 1 and an RB1. Sometimes
it's happened before.
It has happened.
Dallas Cowboys, 1995.
Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Antonio Pierce was on that defense.
Oh, man, I'll never forget that. Antonio Pierce in the 80s. Unbelievable.
To me, he was just like one of those Giants 80s style Parcells defenders.
Yeah.
Right here. All right, let's go. We're done.
All right, Nando.
I mean, unless you want to keep talking about stuff, go ahead.
Nah, how's your bake sale going? But before we get out of here, how's the numbers going? Because a lot of people asked in my article this past week. They said that they were. No, they said they were listening and they were interested in the bake sale, and I said, all right, I'll give an update live on the show this upcoming week. And
you're gonna beat that dead horse, man. There's still 2 weeks to buy. I'll let you know in 2 weeks. I made a poster.
The numbers are down, huh? And
no, they're up.
You better,
actually.
you better
today, every child's going home. Every kid's going home with a postcard that I designed, which they've never done
Marketing
before.
101.
Yeah,
Marketing 101.
Oh
man, you better start working the phones. I'll tell you that much.
No, all you got to do is you send it home in that folder to the kids. The parents read everything in that folder, and they go, "Oh, what's this?" So in case they miss the emails, they got a postcard now, and it's got a QR code on it. So all you do is hold your phone up, and it takes you right to the website for the pie.
Wow, you put a QR code. Wow, I tell you,
charity.
You are impressive.
And every postcard has my latest teaser pick for this week, which is when you move a line one way or another. You tease the line up or down.
Oh man,
maybe you should learn about betting.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay.
All right, let's go.
The Titans minus 9.5. Well, what world? Oh, I teased them. It's called an alternate line.
I teased the line this way. What's your verb for that? Alternate lining doesn't make sense. That's
alternate teasing. Line. You get better off. No, it isn't. A tease is like a two. You know what? I'll explain off air because
I know exactly what a teaser is. It's when you have 2 teams
and
you take the combined spread with the 2 of them. And you can spread the points out however you'd like.
Absolutely
I understand what that means.
Wrong again, as
That's
usual.
right. That's right.
No.
All right, so let's say it's the Giants plus 3.5 and the Saints plus 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
Explain how
a 2-game teaser would take the Saints to 11.5 and the Giants to 9.5.
Yes,
that's what it would do. You don't get to mix and match the points however you want it. That's what you just said.
Yeah.
All right, Nando. Don't try starting to gamble and at the age of 40, whatever you are. Now it's too late, buddy.
Listen, we were told
everybody in this industry is just trying to get into the gambling market and talk as if they've been gambling for all their lives and they have no clue what they're talking about. And I laugh every time I hear it on the radio nowadays.
Me too.
Yeah.
But I am right that the Titans could be minus 9.5, whichever verb you want to put on that. Line humping. Anyway. You want to start it right now? We call it line humping. I'm going to line hump that. It's minus 9.5.
You're going to create your own little thing, line humping.
Yeah, you like that? Let's make it happen.
Hey, I line humped the Titans on Thursday, and I won.
All right, let's go, man. Come on.
Let's go.
Say goodbye.
Have a successful week 9, everybody, and get some wins and some points. These are going to be 2 challenging weeks coming up with 8 very good teams on a bye. So good luck.